in mainstream. People are starting to think differently about food. There's this whole plant-based concept out there that people that I would have never thought would have said those words are thinking about it and thinking about the environmental impact, how it impacts their health, their longevity. More and more, we're so fortunate, certainly here, and the people in my life are so fortunate to be privileged, and we've got, access and abundance to everything. But your health is so vital, and if you don't have that, what else matters? And I think people are really starting to appreciate what that means.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Eat Real to Heal podcast, where I am your host, Nicolette Richer, CEO and founder of The Green Mustache, a collection of plant-based, 100% organic, unrefined, whole food restaurants that we have located in British Columbia and now expanding into New York City. Super excited about that. Now, I'm also the founder of Richer Health Consulting, and we have consulting services that we provide. We have a wellness and detox center in Pemberton, British Columbia, and so much more. So definitely check out our website at greenmustache.com. That's GreenMoustache.com and nicolettericher.com, and you can find out all of our information. So on today's show, we have a lovely human being. She is actually our landlord. She's the director of asset management of Anthem Properties, which is a real estate development, investment, and management company. And on the first day that we opened our third restaurant in Function Junction in Whistler, British Columbia, Cindy brought me flowers, and then she called me later and said, "Hey, I love the work that you're doing at The Green Mustache. Do you think you can come down and teach our employees how to eat real to heal, how to use food as medicine, and how to turn their lifestyles onto a plant-based, whole food, unrefined food lifestyle?" So I went down and did that. And this is what this whole podcast is about. It's about Cindy leading the charge in her company at Anthem Properties in bringing this amazing program and creating a culture at Anthem of wellness. So her annual wellness challenge now that she has been running and that she started, it's been going on for 6 years. Super excited about everything she talks about, because if you work in a company, if you're an HR, human resources employee in a company, if you are a CEO of a company, you need to listen to this podcast and learn about what you can do to change the health around in your organization, amongst your people. Also, what you need to do to be able to support your people in being able to make these really crucial lifestyle changes that'll give them more energy, that'll allow them to operate at their maximum potential so that they're giving you everything that they have, their 100% human potential, and they're giving it to the company so that they're not lethargic and missing sick days and really feeling under the weather a lot of the time. We have an epidemic in our society of chronic disease. 1 in 2 people are now being diagnosed with cancer. 1 in 4 are living with diabetes. It's truly a catastrophe in the health world. And you as an employee of a business can change that, or you as a CEO can change that. So in this podcast, we talk about the benefits of recording all the losses and gains and about using that to instill motivation. We talk about gamifying employee wellness programs. We talk about why are kids still being served junk food at their school events? Like, that is an atrocity that needs to be corrected. We talk about how to break habits and create new habits. And we also dive into the tips and tricks for how other companies can also start their own wellness challenge. So I hope you enjoy this show, and please share it with others. The power of story is huge. And if you can pass this story along to somebody else, you can spark that fire, create that change that needs to happen in this world simply by pressing click as you forward this podcast on to someone else who can benefit from it. Now, before we dive in, I just want to share with you a few things that we are offering to the world. So our purpose is to help as many people around the globe reverse their chronic degenerative lifestyle diseases. And the only way we're going to be able to do this is by teaching people how to use food as medicine, because food is the foundation of health. So we're offering our Eat Real to Heal online course, normally valued at $595, and we're offering a whopping discount of 85%, which means that you get the course for just a little bit more than $89, $89.25. So if you go to our bit.ly link and type in ERTH for Eat Real to Heal, ERTH course, you'll get the discount code, to be able to access the course for a limited time in the month of October to celebrate our Eat Real to Heal book being published 1 year ago. So to celebrate that anniversary as well, we're also giving away our book at a huge discount as well. So you can get our book anywhere on Amazon all around the world. But again, if you visit our website, get the code, you can get our book for $9.95. So buy one for yourself and buy one for somebody else who needs to know about the power of food to be able to reverse chronic disease. That's what we teach at the Green Mustache and at Richer Health. We've been doing this for over a decade, helping thousands of people successfully reverse their chronic degenerative diseases. You do not need to live with these diagnoses that you're getting for these lifestyle diseases that are plaguing our society. So thanks for signing up for the online course. Share it with others, buy it for yourself, buy it for someone else, and you can turn your life around today. So enjoy this podcast with Cindy MacMillan, learn all you can, and let us know what you think. Write to us and share your thoughts, share your ideas. And if you have a healing hero story to share as well with us, we'd love to have you on our show. So please write to us at info@richerhealth.ca and let us know how you used food as medicine to heal yourself. You are a wellness warrior, and we want to share your story and inspire and motivate others. So enjoy, be well. So welcome to the Eat Real to Heal podcast, Cindy. It is such a pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you. I'm very excited to be here, and I'm excited to connect with you again. It's been a while.
It has been a while. For our listeners out there, the way I got to meet Cindy is that she was actually our property manager with Anthem Properties, which is based in Vancouver, but also in 3 other cities as well, right?
Yes, we're in Calgary, Edmonton, and Sacramento, California.
Oh, wow. And you guys have grown a lot in the last 3 years, since I know that you even became our property manager as well, or a landlord, I should say.
Yeah, definitely. I think we've been hiring almost 100 people each year. And I mean, some of that is replacement, but a lot of that are new positions. And we've just been acquiring sites and continuing to grow through acquisitions, and it's been incredible. I've been with Anthem 15 years now, and just the growth that we've had in the first 3 years and now sort of the last 5 years has just been incredible to be on the journey with.
Yeah, that is amazing to be the company that's growing. Right now, we are in a very similar position. I think at the time when we signed the lease for our Function Junction location for the Green Mustache, that was our 3rd location, and now we're at 6 locations, which is crazy, and but super fun as well. But growth has all of its challenges. But for people who are listening out there, the reason why I want to have Cindy on the podcast is because Cindy has gone above and beyond and done something which most people do not do. She has been a renegade behind launching a wellness program at Anthem Properties. And can you tell us how that started with the dad bod guy?
Sure. I mean, I love renegade. That's awesome. So a close colleague of mine was commenting, and another colleague of mine had wanted to fit into a suit for a wedding that summer. And another colleague said, oh yeah, I've got this dad bod thing going on. And I said, well, why don't we do a challenge? We're all very competitive by nature, I would say here, lots of A-type personalities, and they were all over it. And of course, when competitive people get into a competition, they put their head down and work really hard. So we kind of cast the net fairly wide throughout the company. We were probably about 120 people then, and I would say we had 26 people sign up that first year.
That's awesome.
And we did an 8-week challenge. I have a pretty extensive background in fitness and personal training, which I've kind of done on the side and always enjoy as a hobby. So I got to bring that passion in and set up a health challenge where basically people, the first year we weren't as sophisticated, so we just did it through the pounds that you lost over the 8 weeks, the inches that you lost over the 8 weeks, and then people got to earn points through making lifestyle choices in 4 categories, being fitness, health, wellness, and nutrition. So we made specific things, and they got daily points for drinking water or taking the stairs instead of the elevator. And then, of course, we measured them at the beginning of the end and the end. So that is kind of how it started, and it was really successful. And we just completed our 6th year this year.
6th year?
Yeah.
That is amazing. And, for me, you are the true definition of a healing hero, because you are, not just keeping that knowledge about health and nutrition and fitness and mental wellness to yourself. You are expanding it and sharing it with other people, where that's not really that wouldn't traditionally be part of your role, right? Maybe that's part of an HR role position, right?
Yeah, it's not here. It's not anybody's role, but I would say traditionally things like that would come out of HR. What I love about Anthem, though, is it's a really entrepreneurial company, and there's a lot of people that have different talents or knowledge and skill in other areas, and they're able to bring them in. And so for me to be able to bring in my fitness and wellness passion into the work and share that with people, that's what gets me excited in the mornings.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. And such a very cool, aspect of what any corporation could be doing. One of the things we do is when we find out, like, our staff, like if somebody's a graphic designer or if somebody's any skill set that they have, it could be like anything from teaching yoga to dance to meditation to any other skill, and these are people who are working in our cafes. So they are food producers and customer service staff in the cafes. And I'm like, hey, do you want to utilize your skills in any other way? And it just diversifies their role a little bit more and makes it exciting for them to be able to play in different fields and build their skill set in different areas where, sure, a lot of restaurants might just hire serving staff and they're just like, well, you're a server and then that's it. So I love that about Anthem, and I do love it about ourselves, because I've seen what it's done to our staff to enable them to expand themselves. So that's very cool that Anthem is open to that. And I think it's something that other organizations can also be open to. Yeah, there's a few things that, number one, that you said in there. And I want to touch on the gamification piece, because you decided to award points. So we're going to get back to that. But I also want to
Mhm.
touch on your athletic history as well, because you were a gymnast. Is that correct?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes.
How long were you a gymnast for, and what level?
Yeah, 10 years, national level. So I started late, actually, when I was at the ripe age of 7 years old.
Oh, wow.
Um, yeah, which is considered late in the
It is.
gymnastics world. It's evolved, I would say, a little bit since back in the 80s and 90s. But yeah, I started when I was 7 and did it for 10 years, loved it. Right away, I fell in love with it. I joined because one of my school friends was in it, and there was a bring your friend to gym day. And so I got to go with the friend. And the minute I walked in, by the end, I was, pulling on my mom's arm, please, please, please. And she gave in. And so, and I was, after about 2 years, recreational, went competitive and competed. I grew up in Coquitlam, so with Mountain Academy and then Omega, once they amalgamated. And yeah, it was really great. I loved it.
Wow, that's amazing. Um, And I have 3 girls, and 2 of them are very active in gymnastics. And my youngest one, who's 8, I mean, she's been pining since she was 2 years old to be in gymnastics. So last year, I think, was her first real year. And then, she's been going to competitions, and you couldn't keep her away from it. Like, I think she probably does about, 100 back handsprings every single day. And she had to teach herself an aerial a couple years ago because she couldn't wait to get into gymnastics. And but one
Oh,
of the things that we see in all of these competitive sports, and I play competitive tennis in the United States on a scholarship at a university, and the food was atrocious. But that was 22 years ago. So that, I mean, I could almost excuse it. And plus, I was in the deep south, and where the food already isn't good to begin with. Healthy, I should say, very tasty, but not healthy. But the one thing that's still happening is that I see is that my kids are involved in a lot of athletic programs, like everything from competitive snowboarding to the gymnastics, and they're fed the worst food still. And
hmm.
yes, and was it like that when you were a gymnast? Like, how important was nutrition when you were a national gymnast at that time? Because that was a while ago. That, I mean, you were, from 7 till 17 at the time.
It's funny. I remember I've thought about this a lot because knowing what I know now, just through my own interest and studies on food and what provides energy and what doesn't. I think back to what we were provided, and I don't even know who this came through, the coaches or what, but I mean, we were given sugar tablets to take in competitions, and we literally just sugar tablets, just straight up sugar. Might as well have drank a can of Coca-Cola or something. And so we would take that about, I think it was about a minute before you were to go on. So you get that, your heart rate's jacked up, your blood sugar levels. I
Oh
think of
my.
this now and I'm just like, oh my God. And I also remember, and I think it was just, there wasn't the knowledge and the science understanding of food back then is sort of my takeaway of it. Because I think my mom would try and feed us healthy, but in terms of timing and when to eat and what to eat, I remember she would give us these power bars that came in these, and not to discredit power bar, but they came in these gold wrappers, and I call them goo bars. They tasted like goo, and I couldn't pronounce any of the ingredients in them. And I know, nutrition bars have come a long way and they're a lot better today, but I remember just eating that and I was like, I don't want to eat this. I don't know what it's going to do. But in her mind, she was giving me the best nutrition that we had available to us at the time. And that was what athletes had at the time, and
Yeah.
whether it was a fad or not. And that's frightening to hear that that's still happening today.
Yeah, still has not changed from what I see, like at all the different events that they have. I mean, the most that they have is like a veggie burger, maybe, which is available. But other than that, I mean, it's still chips and pop and, hamburgers and hot dogs. And I'm like, hot dogs are actually classified as a carcinogenic, like, and we're still feeding them to kids. Like, event organizers are still feeding them to kids. It's crazy. Now, what about, you're also a marathon runner as well, aren't you? You've done a number of marathons?
Yeah, I've done three. I haven't done any lately. After I retired from gym, I kind of floundered for a little bit and was a bit lost just because when you're training 35 hours a week and you get out of that, then all of a sudden I was all of the things that I couldn't have, like donuts and this and that. I got to partake in that and being social with my friends. And then I sort of hit this point where in my early 20s, and I kind of went, well, I'm always up for a challenge and I'm always up for doing something new. And I would say I was pretty out of shape at the time. And my goal was just to run around a track once. So I would walk up to the track, up the hill, and run around it once and try and do that without stopping. And then in 2002, joined a group, and it was you raise money for Joints in Motion, which is the charitable arm of the Arthritis Society,
Okay.
and you raise funds for them, and then they sponsor you to go and run a marathon somewhere, which was in Hawaii. So, I mean, really, I was like, I'm going to go to Hawaii, but I had to
Awesome.
run this marathon. So, luckily, they provided training and that to go along with it, and yeah, it was probably I should have probably started with 10K, but made it through the marathon and was kind of hooked after that and did a few more. And yeah, I met some great people through running too. It's a really great community. And I think for me, I've sort of moved on more to trail running now, just it's a little bit easier on my body, which has had, as you can imagine, a lot of pounding over the years. So it's something I enjoy and can do anyway, anytime.
Amazing. I love how you went from not running, like trying to just get once around a track, which, right now I'm working way too much. So I focus on my nutrition, but exercise definitely is lagging. When I'm running around, I only have limited time in the office. So I have a standing desk and I also sit, but, most of the time it's like I have to. It's a struggle for me to get out. And I used to be a runner and an athlete, and I know what it's like when you are training competitively every day. Like when I came back from the States, I was like, bye-bye rackets, got rid of my rackets, didn't play anything,
Yeah.
didn't do anything. And it was for years. A few years went by before I started like actually just running and running for fun. But how's your nutrition? So with the trail running that you do now, and you also told me that you have something called a class pass, which is super awesome.
Mhm.
So tell us about the class pass and tell me and just help us understand like what is your nutrition like around the training that you do now?
Sure. So ClassPass is a fantastic app. They're worldwide, so they're in most major cities globally, and basically it's an app that gives you access to, in Vancouver, it's over 100 gyms that offer all types of classes. And what I love about it is obviously, it's the variety. So I can, I wake up that day and I feel like doing yoga instead of going for a run, or I feel like doing a rowing class or a dance class or anything. And it's all available through the app, and you just sign up. So for me, that gives me options and variety, and it works with my schedule. I'm not nearly as busy as you, but definitely it's harder and harder to find time to schedule in a class. So I found some really great gyms around my office that I can go to and around my home that I can go to. And I mean, the caliber of instructors is fantastic. So that gives me good variety. And I would say nutrition around that, I'm pretty good. I would say I tend to eat on like an 80-20. I definitely still like to have wine on a patio on a sunny day. But I do try and get my fresh veggies, and I just feel better. And I know when I'm not eating well, and um, I know how I feel, and I know that my energy's down, and I don't like it. So it's hard if you're out and that burger looks really good and you're hungry, and the fries, of course, are going to taste amazing. But you're always going to feel a certain way or perform a certain way from that. So yeah, I do indulge a little bit, but try and keep it clean.
Yeah, 80% clean, 20% indulgence. And then you're exercising on top of that. So, and it's interesting that you brought up the wine piece because we just did a podcast yesterday with Andy Ramage from the UK, and he started a program. He was a stockbroker, and making incredible money, but part of that lifestyle is that you are wining and dining people and you're partying hard and all of that. And he definitely was not an alcoholic, but he was like every other person who like maybe drinks like, you know, 4 to 8 drinks on the weekend and then maybe, a beer here and there throughout the week. So, but what he noticed is that the drinking, even if it was just one beer or one glass of wine, that for the next few days, it just completely, brings you down. So he started this program called 1 Year No Beer just for himself to see like, what would my life look like if I didn't drink at all? And thought, I'm just going to do this for 28 days. And he did, then ended up being a year, and now it's been 6 years. But when he did that and cut out all the alcohol, he ended up 10 timesing or 11 timesing his revenue for his business, which is,
Really?
yeah, it's huge. So now he's working, and that's the story that he loves. He's had like I think over 50 or 60,000, and I could be wrong. It could be more than that now. People go through the 1 Year No Beer program, and that's what he's looking at. He wants to see these stories of people who are like 10 times their business as a result of like liberating their body from having to recover from alcohol. So when you conserve that energy, then let's see what happens. Um, but do you
Cool.
and but do you notice, like, what is the difference that you notice, like, when you don't eat clean or you do have wine and then you try and train or go to the gym or like, how does it affect your motivation? How does it affect you physically?
oh my gosh, it's everything. It's everything from, I can pack my bag, but I'll get there and it's just, I feel tired. I feel heavy. I feel like a slug. I try and talk myself out of it and, oh, maybe I'll just start tomorrow. That's always a good one, right? Tomorrow never comes, by the way. And yeah, I just, for me personally, I feel it in my digestion and I notice it and it just feels, I feel heavy and slow and frankly, it just feels like my body's sick a little bit and I don't like it. Not to say that I'm always going to avoid it. I think risk and reward and I know that that's going to happen, but I can tell when I'm not eating clean and I don't know the science behind what's happening, but I know it doesn't feel good.
Yeah, and I just love that you're aware of what's going on because I think a lot of people won't associate diet and the stuff that they're putting into their mouth, whether it's the alcohol or the power bars or the refined food or the heavy meat and animal fats or, like anything that is, processed. They don't associate the symptoms that they get afterwards, like you mentioned, digestive issues or feeling sluggish or not motivated or, trying to talk yourself out of working out and just feeling a little bit sick. But I mean, we have a medication for all those things. We have Tylenol, we have caffeine, we have antacids, we have, all of those things that can then suppress those symptoms because people might just say, well, you know what, I'm just feeling this way today, but they're not thinking that it comes from their diet, right? And their lifestyle. And so that's I think something that's just really important and incredible that you are aware of that because I know that there's so many people that are not aware of that. Which brings me back to your corporate wellness program that you started. Now, another reason why I just wanted to chat with you today and have you on our Eat Real to Heal show is because we are launching a corporate training program where we take people through our 5-week program. We handhold the employees. We only work with big organizations, and organizations that have 50 or more employees, and where we track their data as well for around the health and wellness. And in doing our research for that, I came across a thank you card that you had sent me when I came and did a corporate lunch and learn program with Anthem Properties. And I love that you had like the whole little, paragraph of statistics, like all around weight loss. And what were the other statistics that you're capturing through the program? If you could share that.
We did inches lost. And then 2016, I think 2016 was the first year we had a body composition scale. So we did body fat percentage loss, which was the main metric that we measured by because I don't like weight as a main metric because that's so specific to people. So we did body fat percentage loss. And then we also did weight and inches lost. So we would measure hip and waist. Because that's sort of a more gender neutral measurement.
Yeah, exactly. And were they willing to have the measurements taken? Like, how did they feel about that? Were they excited about that? Apprehensive? What was that like doing that?
I was worried because it's a very personal thing. And so we didn't do calipers. And so what we did do was we partnered with the YWCA, which is a gym right by our office. And we do have quite a few employees who are members there. And so they brought a trainer in who took the measurements. We also measured people's blood pressure as well. That wasn't a metric for the competition, but it was just an offering for their health from beginning to end, just to see how that would change. And I think they took really well to having a neutral person in there, so having the YWCA person in there taking their measurements. And most people were pretty good. And I remember this from personal training days too. Some people come in and they're a little bit self-deprecating, and you can tell that they're nervous and this and that. But everybody was good sports, and I think the biggest reward for me, of course, is at the end when people get measured, and even if it's half an inch, even if it's a couple of pounds, when people actually see that progress and see that they've made a move in the right direction, it just crystallizes so much more for them, all of the work that they've done. And that's why, I believe whatever it is you're doing, measuring is so important because it really just helps your mind understand what you're actually doing.
Yeah, definitely. And, people are motivated by data because, it's often hard to, understand what's going on when you don't measure things and don't collect that data. So that's really important. That's going to be an important part of our program as well. So I love that you did
Mhm.
that. And then how did you celebrate afterwards? Or did you celebrate? Was that
Uh,
built into the program?
Yeah, we did. We were fortunate. So Anthem pitches in some cash as well. So we get some prizes, and they're usually in the health and fitness realm. We did do a cash prize for what we called the biggest loser component, or the person who won the competition got a cash prize, and we change it every year. So sometimes we've had just one winner. Sometimes we do a top male and female. Sometimes we'll do top three. The way we calculate everything is meant to be gender and meant to neutralize depending on where you start from, because whatever you lose is kicks out a percentage of what you started with. So, if somebody who's 100 pounds loses 10, they've lost 10%. Somebody who's 200 pounds loses 10, they're not tied, right? That person only
Right.
lost 5%. So we try and even the playing field, offer cash. And then at the end, we celebrate. We just do a little wrap up party, and that's where we give all the awards. I love, because I give the whole sum of what everybody collectively has done. And, I think our biggest year with probably 20 people, we lost 96 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. And 97 inches. So, I mean, that's a whole person
That is a
between
whole person. That's
the whole person.
amazing. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And did the organization, like, did they, besides just giving money for the prizes, how did Anthem Properties, like, did they chip in? I mean, obviously they're giving you time to do this, and what else did they chip in? How else did they support?
So definitely some cash. Over the years, we now have a committee, so I'm not running it myself. So resources, staff as well, and then some of the prizes. So they would give us cash. We would go out and buy some prizes through gift cards and things like that. And then really we actually leaned on a lot of the staff, just like you do at the Green Mustache, and just say, hey, who's got something. We had a yoga instructor who worked here, and she came in and did a lunch or a lunch and learn for the participants in that segment. And yeah, and then we buy food and have a little party at the end in our staff room here and hand out all the prizes. And yeah, it's fun.
That's incredible. And is that just happening in the Vancouver office and or in all the offices?
The last 2 years, we've done it through the 4 offices.
Wow, that's amazing. Um, and okay, so I love that Anthem is supporting, and it obviously doesn't take a ton of overhead to be able to support something like this. I mean, it's, staff time, definitely. But tell me about some more of the, benefits to the employees that you've seen, like some of the things that you've heard from them, because at the end of the day, we all know we're a little bit vain. We love to, be thin. We love to be pretty. We love to, have skinny waists and all of that. But and I love how you described how it started with the one dad who's like, I have a dad bod and I want to change that, which I think is so cool that it wasn't coming from a woman who's like, I've got a mum bod. But what are some of the other benefits that you've heard from the employees beyond the physical?
Yeah, for sure. The dad bod guy won, by the way. He
Oh,
won
he
that year.
did.
He's
Wow.
won a couple of years. He's a very competitive individual. Um, yeah, I mean, there's a few that stand out. I would say one of the first ones, the first competition, one of the participants, and it was just through the blood pressure metric, and he had it taken, and the trainer who did it from the YWCA did it twice, and she went, you know what, this is really quite bad. You should really go see your doctor. And he actually had quite a bad problem that he just had no idea about, because he would have never otherwise had his blood pressure tested. He's just one of those guys that doesn't go to the doctor. And so he was able to go in and, whatever program his doctor put him on. But he really dug into the challenge seriously. I think anybody who gets a bit of a health scare wakes them up a little bit. So, he did very well in that challenge. And his blood pressure at the end of the 8-week challenge was pretty much normal. So that was just such a huge win, and just from such a health perspective of oh my gosh, I mean, he didn't even know that existed. He didn't even know that was a problem. And to get it back down to normal. And of course, all the other things of he felt better, he slept better. There was just so many spin-offs from that. Another participant joined, and she had been a competitive badminton player in the past, and it was always her dream to get back to it. But again, it's a dream that you want to do, and oh, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. And through this health challenge, because in the fitness component, you got points daily for doing, rigorous exercise or easy exercise. And so she picked up her racket again and started playing, and that has kickstarted. I think that was year one, so she's now been competing again for 6 years in the Masters, and at a pretty high level, and she loves it. I mean, she came up afterwards and gave me a hug and just said, thank you. I've got my life back, and I'm doing what I've always said I was going to do and what I want to do. And I think that that's actually evolved into a few other aspects of her life. It's also given her the courage, I guess, to start those now as well, because she was so accomplished in the badminton and bringing that back to her life. And yeah, I mean, the dad bod guy, he literally went from a dad bod to a shredded dad. His wife thanks me too.
I bet she does.
Yeah, but interestingly, he was always a sports guy, so he still plays a lot of hockey and whatnot, and he's in his 40s, so but he had never really done a fitness routine, and so he got into the gym for the first time and started lifting weights and doing all that, and it completely, and he was very disciplined on the nutrition side. He, with the knowledge that he had, went to not plant-based, but heavy vegetables, skipped all the sauces, was very, very disciplined, and even cut out alcohol, and, says how fantastic he feels when he does that. And he works in my side of the business as well, which, like your stockbroker friend, is heavy on the receptions and the client events and the eating out and the past canapes and the alcohol. And it's hard to say no when those are coming around, because you don't want to be that person. But he was for during the challenge, and was very, very successful, and has been. So, and he's kept it off. I would say, I should look it up, but whatever his starting weight was to what his finishing weight was in year 6, he would always lose, gain a little bit back, but then lose some more, gain a little bit back. So it's trending down. It's not like he would bounce back up to where he was ever. So he's definitely maintained a much more healthy body since.
That is amazing. So in addition to being a renegade, you're also a lifesaver, because, and I don't say, but I don't say that lightly, because, how many of us are like, everyone is so tired, they're exhausted, they can't take one more thing onto their plate. But, you've gone above and beyond and done that. And in so doing, people have been able to, like you said, the woman who returned to, badminton, and she, said she got her life back. This guy who's got this shredded body, and his weight continues to decline, and he's getting ripped in it. But especially the guy with the high blood pressure, like something as simple as, saying we're just going to start an 8-week challenge. But I mean, high blood pressure, it is a risk factor for stroke and heart disease and heart attacks. And so, and no matter what age, we see 30-year-olds and 40-year-olds now dropping dead from strokes and heart attacks that are so preventable, right? Either by just going and knowing that you have high blood pressure, and that your triglycerides are high and your LDL levels are high, to everything from whether you get medicated or not for it, or whether you switch to a plant-based diet or change your nutrition. Just knowing that information is so critical in saving somebody's life. And that's what you've brought forward to these people, which is why I say you are a lifesaver. And I'm not saying that lightly at all. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Yeah, definitely.
All of those people need to be thanking you. So I love the fact that you decided to award points. Now, was that something just from, understanding human psychology? Because in the world of gamification, I love how humans are so motivated by points to the extent that people who collect air miles will actually, like it's been proven, will actually go out of their way to cancel their flight, take 3 connecting flights instead of a direct flight, just so they can get more points. But at the end of the day, only 10% of people who collect air miles actually even use them. So it's more like a game. So did you know about human motivation around, gamification and point collecting and motivation, or how did you decide to use that system?
No, it was a system. It had been introduced to us through another challenge on a slightly similar scale, and so we kind of took that and ran with it and made it. For me, it was more just about making the challenge accessible for everyone. So there's people who have different levels of fitness, different levels of nutrition knowledge, different levels, different access to that information as well. There's some people culturally that have only ever eaten meat and bread and they don't know anything else. So it was giving people bite-sized items that they could earn a point for. So it was, you know, having a meatless Monday, or taking the stairs instead of the elevator, as I mentioned before. Eating breakfast within 2 hours of waking up, like all the little things that can make such a huge difference. That what baffles me is so many people don't do, because for me it's just normal life. And this is what I realized through doing these challenges is just the array of knowledge and lifestyle that people have. And even just the little tweaks here and there can make such a big difference for some people who have been in certain habits for so long and have just never been aware of a different way of living or eating or sleeping even. That was a big one. If you get 7 hours of sleep or more a day, you'd get a point. If you limited your screen time, you'd get a point. If you got outside to nature, you'd get a point. So there's different things that people could do. And then on the fitness side, for every 20-minute segment of either rigorous or light activity, you would get points. So it gave people, it didn't have to be about fitness, because, there's some people like me that's what I love to do. But there are some people that either just aren't able or don't know how to do that, or maybe have a medical condition and can't. So they could still compete through, health and wellness and nutrition choices as well. So, or, the fitness buff who eats burgers and runs marathons can go, oh, what if I tweaked this part of my lifestyle? And oh my gosh, all of a sudden I feel lighter when I run, and I run a little bit faster and whatever. So, it was more just about really making it accessible and even playing field for everyone, whether you were, a high performer or brand new to this type of challenge.
I love it. I love it. It just that I love the flexibility in that point system. And obviously, people kept track of their own points, I imagine.
Honor system. Yeah.
Honor system, yep. But I love that because it's very much how I was in the green building sector before, and doing the lead documentation and teaching contractors, about the importance of building lead buildings. But it's the same thing. Is that like you have all of these different ways to get points for a building, and somebody might focus, more on the windows, and the other people might focus more on, the products being used. And at the end of the day, you can choose from a wide array of things depending on the needs for that building and still qualify to be a LEED certified building. But I mean, there's a baseline at the same time. And I love it because you know, otherwise you'd have every single building having to be designed exactly the same way to get certification. And this provides for that flexibility, which I really love. And with the and would you say you need to have the point system built in there to make it a successful program?
Yeah, so interestingly, we've that used to be part of the whole. So everybody who joined had to do the sort of the weight loss challenge and the point system. And then what we did, just to make it a team building exercise as well, we put people on random teams for the points. So your individual points counted towards your individual score for that. But we also put people on teams and mixed them up. And then we would throw in sort of weekly bonus activities where you'd have to do something with your team, either sit down and set some SMART goals or do a walk at lunch with your team or something like that, just to try and create that collaboration. Of course, in the fitness realm, I always love the buddy system because it's a lot easier to go when someone's like, hey, you said we're going running today. So we have broken away from that. And I liked that because it keeps people accountable too. I mean, I know when I did it, if I was sitting at home and instead of turning on the TV, I'd go out for a 20-minute walk just to get one more point.
Exactly.
Because it's really easy. But I don't know. Yeah, there is some psychology of just knowing you'll get that point and um, over not, and it makes it a lot easier. So we've actually evolved a little bit and we've broken it apart. So we've made it again, throughout the 4 cities, we've made it a wellness challenge. And then we have the weight loss challenge, which is the competition side of it. So people can join both or one, and they can pick however they like to do it. And then that way, some people just didn't love the weight loss component, or that wasn't something that they were after, or they were perfectly fine with that. So, it's been successful too. And most people still join the point system because they like it. And like you said, it's easy and it does really make a difference because you're accountable every day to, oh, wow. And you start tracking it and you're going, wow, I don't really sleep very much, or I really need to drink more water, or just such little things that, like I said, can make such a big difference.
Yeah, no, I love the accountability piece with the group aspect. So it's not just individual. And I mean, all the, leading self-help gurus from like the Oprahs to the, Tony Robbins and all the business coaches that are out there as well. I mean, at the end of the day, they always try and hook you up with an accountability partner. Todd Herman is big on that with 90-day year. And I was part of that program and I really saw how well it worked, just to have like the weekly check-in with your accountability partner. And then you say you're going to do these 3 things and then you do those 3 things. And yeah, it's awesome. And being part of a team doing anything is amazing. So what you've done at Anthem is essentially built a wellness tribe, which
Yeah.
is so
Oh,
important.
I like that.
Yeah, everybody needs to be part of a tribe. It's, community we know contributes to health as well. So how was it? Because you already have, quite a bit of knowledge, just from previous conversations we've had about nutrition. But, for the people that, these colleagues of yours that you're working with, um, was there a difference between, the physical exercise side of it and, teaching the importance of that, or teaching the importance of sleep versus teaching the importance of nutrition? Like, how did the nutrition piece play out as far as education and adopting habits around nutrition for amongst employees?
Yeah, so we've done a few different things over the years. Obviously, having you in 2016, which I think was our 3rd year that we were running the challenge, to do a lunch and learn for our group, which was so fantastic. We had such great feedback, and it was such good knowledge. And that again, where I just realized that room and the comments that I had afterwards. People just don't even know this information is out there. And to think of, food, you hear of the keto diet and the this, and we do get a lot of questions like that through the challenge of like, what's this diet and what's this mean? And, I'm not a nutrition educator, so I always give that disclaimer, but we've done presentations in the past where I've put them together just talking about very basic stuff, that fat can be good for you, not bad for you, and just trying to dispel some of those bad diets of, the no fat and the this and the that. And again, we encourage people just from a liability standpoint to always talk with their doctor or nutritionist if they're making changes. But as a basic guideline, we try and give them a little bit of information, but it's really hard because you don't have access to it anywhere. I can get access through going and reading and forming my own philosophies and opinions, but that doesn't make me an educator, and I can't teach somebody that because they might have a different view of it or take it a different way. So it's really interesting how listening to what people had access to was the major fad diet. Like that was sort of what, when they thought of nutrition, that's where they went. It was, the paleo diet or the keto or the no fat diet. And that was their biggest understanding, I would say, of nutrition. It wasn't, what food can do for you or how it affects you. That piece is really missing big time.
And I mean, I think it's the way that it's always been. I was so sad when I read this one stat that said, and I can't remember it entirely, but it was astronomical. But it said basically once people graduate from high school, it's something like, I don't know, 65% of people read a book ever in their lifetime again. So most people are just reading the magazines and, the whatever the popular magazines are, if they're reading at all. And then they did another study and showed that after university, so people who've actually gotten a degree, the stat was like even higher. It's like 85% of people don't like. It was so crazy, and it's so sad how
Yeah.
people don't read. Um, but it's not hard because we have access to like millions of books. It's available on our phones. We have our phones that can access every audiobook you can imagine. They can access podcasts. They have so many learning tools out there. But
Hmm.
for myself, I mean, we've had this podcast now for 6 months. There's podcasts that I've listened to from other hosts who've had their podcast for 5, 6 years, and so it's not like podcasts are a brand new thing, but every day people have no idea what a podcast is. And so, you have this information at your fingertips. People are commuting for hours a day. And so you have the time actually to take in the information as well, even if you never have to read a book again for the rest of your life. But people don't. And they refer to blogs, people's blogs, and they never even do a check to see like, who's the blog writer and do they have any credibility? And most times and not, when people send me a link and they're like, well, I read this, I think it's good. This person has 1 million followers, and I'll go and find out like what, and that person has no nutritional background. They have no science background. They have no anything kind of background. And here they are saying, do the celery juice diet and, all these different
Yeah.
fads. But it's been that way forever. I remember my mom doing the cabbage soup diet to lose weight. Right. And,
Yeah.
back in the 70s and 80s. So that's understandable for sure. And the great thing is, like, I love what you did is, you hired me and brought me in, and I taught. And I think my talk was a bit extreme because I was talking about reversing chronic disease. And so it's like when you want to reverse a chronic disease using food as medicine, like there's no room for rice cakes and Cliff Bars. And no offense to Cliff Bar, but there actually is no room for Cliff Bars. And when you need to, yeah, put your body back into that self-healing state. So maybe a little bit extreme for a wellness challenge, but I do hope that people got some good information out of that.
Well, I think it's so good because it gives them just insight into something that they didn't even know exist, and the people who want to take action on it can then go and take action on it. And what I love about what you said is that you're looking at doing this now for the corporate world, but with a 5-week follow up, which is so important because even myself, I can read a book and get that knowledge, but if you don't apply that knowledge and if you don't use it and integrate it into your life, it just, I don't know, gets tucked away somewhere in there.
Yeah, definitely. And so many, a stat that I do know is that when people take workshops or attend lectures or any kind of training, 5% of the people implement what they learn in that training. Only 5%, which is crazy. So, I mean, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it is crazy. So that's for us why it's so important to have that follow up, and which is why I love that you have the 8-week program. So why did you decide on 8 weeks for the program?
So it's varied actually, and it usually just depends on how busy we are, when we can start, when I'm taking holidays.
Right.
So the shortest we've done is 6, and the longest we've done is 10. Um, what I like about 8, 10 I think was a little too long. I think people got a little bit, oh, I can just start that next week, and it was a little bit disengaging, I think. But the 8 weeks is good. It's sort of 2 months, and we would always do it in the early spring, so it would finish on the Wednesday or Thursday before the May long weekend. So then people kind of were in their best health for summer. But most people were pretty motivated, and there's people had to get through Easter, so they got the being able to apply what they're learning over a holiday where there's lots of eating and
Smart.
drinking. And there was spring break in there too most of the time, so gave them opportunity to have time off, perhaps to go and try different activities, which they would also get points for doing something new. So yeah, I like the 8 weeks, and that's probably what we've done the most over the 6 years.
Okay, that's really, really good to know. I feel like I'm totally picking your brain now to support our our corporate
Go
lunch
for
and learn program.
it.
But there's so many little tiny aspects to consider when when somebody in an organization like yourself wants to start this, right? It's not just a matter of like being like, "Hey, everybody, let's get healthy." It's like, how long does a program last for? What are we going to monitor? How are we going to motivate? How are we going to celebrate? How do you what do you get points for, or do you get points deducted? Like there's so many, you can use a carrot and the stick. We know that they're both great for getting people to do things, but it also depends how you want to do it. So, lots of different things to consider in here, which is incredible. um, what's the feedback been from the rest of the company, that pretty much like for Anthem, who said, yeah, go ahead and do this? Like, what's their feedback been? I'm curious about that.
Uh, I mean, I think they love it. What's beneficial to Anthem as a corporation is it brings in that team bonding and collaboration piece. So we always make sure that we have teams and we randomize them. So if people meet someone new in a growing company like ours, it's so easy to just stick to your little nook and hang out with the people on your team or the people that you work with every day. But we're fully integrated development investment management company, so we've probably got, oh gosh, I would say almost 20 different home teams, which would be departments for us. So people working in very different aspects of real estate development. So you don't always work with all the people who work at Anthem. So to be able to create those relationships and build bonds, um, and it also, I love the team dynamic because if you're having a bad day or you're unmotivated, somebody else on your team might be having a good day and they're just like, come on, Cindy, it's okay. Let's get out for that walk or go to that gym class. I know you don't want to go, but you've got to go. You've got to get those points. And just having that support is so important. And that, I mean, I find that just trickles out everywhere, right? Then they can take that spirit home to their families. And hopefully if they learn something through the lunch and learns that we offer or whatnot, they can also bring that home to their families. And I mean, that is just exponential, right?
It is.
When you start thinking of it that way.
Yeah, that's incredible. And have you considered, or have you ever in the past been able to, rate or keep track of performance ability, like just how as an employee, and you know what that looks like? Because ultimately, when somebody's exercising, they're sleeping well, they're eating well, their brain is functioning better, and they're clearly able to perform better. But have you thought about that at all?
That's very interesting. I mean, I've thought about it personally. I don't know that we've talked about that as an organization. We certainly track that information, but whether we've ever tied it to our wellness challenge that we put on, I don't think so. Certainly not that I know of, and I would probably know about it. But that's a really interesting idea to do that because uh, I think there's a general sense that you sort of know the people who are healthy and active, and they probably have the less sick days and are probably more alert during the day. But we wouldn't have data to back that up. So, and yeah, certainly as we at Anthem and just the world is going more data focused and you're able to tweak and enhance your performance with when you've got information, um, that would be really beneficial. It'd be
Yeah.
huge.
I'm really curious about it because I've thought about it a lot for our program, because I'm like, we can claim that, make a wild claim that it'll enhance employee performance and productivity, but it's like, how do you track that? So I was like, could it be from the number of emails answered in a day? So before and after, were they answering, 10 emails a day, 30 emails a day, and now they're answering, more? Were they, definitely when it comes to money, like if somebody's role is attached to sales, then, there's a way that you could obviously track that. Or how many meetings does someone have with a prospective client? Because at the end of the day, if you're like, don't have the energy to do it, you're just like, do I really want to meet with that client? So you're not going to send the email, and you're not going to make the cold call, and you're not going to do all of those things. Or you mean so many different things. And in every organization, it's going to be different, obviously. But I'm really curious about, that's the side that I'm really curious about, because I know when I am eating at my best, sleeping at my best, and exercising, I mean, that's when I'm like powerhouse superwoman. Like I can go home and do dishes and fold laundry and paint the walls and play with the kids and jump on the trampoline and still go to work with tons of energy. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I'm super curious about that. Um, and for moving forward, so is this going to continue in the organization as well? No plans to.
Yeah, definitely. So we've done ours for this year, and yeah, we'll absolutely do it again next year, and hopefully, if anything ever happens to me, they'll continue it forever and ever.
Yeah, that was so. There's 2 points. One about the succession planning. Like I know you've been at Anthem for over 10 years, but there will come a day when you decide to move on. Like maybe it's retirement or whatever it is. You get promoted to a major role, and it's like I can't do the wellness program anymore. How will that? Do you have a plan in place for how that will happen, or has anybody said, I'd love to take this on, or is it built now into the organization that if you did leave, it would still continue?
Yeah, I definitely think it's now built into the organization. So for the first, gosh, probably 4 years, first 3 years, I think I just did it on my own. And then I had one colleague who sort of came on board and helped me. And then the last 2 years, exactly that. I said, look, guys, I can't do this by myself anymore. I'm just too busy. It can be a full-time job. So we actually formed a committee, which is something that we do here for a lot of different efforts. So we formed a committee. It's under the Events and Celebrations Committee, and so we run the Wellness Challenge as well. And so I think there's probably 10 people on that committee, and then we can pull other people as well and do a little subcommittee for the Wellness Challenge and put it together. Most of the building blocks are there just through how we track and measure everything. We've got the same scales in all 4 cities. We've got local city champions in each city that champions the Wellness Challenge and kind of runs it in those different locations. And I'm fully confident that if I wasn't here next year, it would happen.
That's awesome. And I think that's a key, right? Is to just setting up the systems and setting up the people and making it so it's just, you have a department, or in this case, a committee in the organization. And it's just, that's what they do. It's like built into their role and they do that. Now, you also touched on sick days, which is another marker that I think is really important because, I know definitely with my clients who do our Eat Real to Heal program, or my clients who have, a debilitating chronic disease and they use food as medicine and they do the Gerson therapy to reverse it. The thing that they come back to me with always, 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 always is how every winter and every fall and every spring when the flu blows through, everybody would get hit with it. Like their whole families would get hit with it because obviously if you're eating a certain way, well, your family's eating the same way. And then once they switch to our program, it's amazing. Like they'll go through, years without, maybe a sniffle, maybe the odd headache, maybe like a slight cough. But even then, if they do get sick, they say that it's the number of sick days are cut down drastically. So is that something that you track, or do you think that Anthem could ever start tracking that?
We definitely track when people are sick, and that is such a measurable thing. If you look at somebody who has a salary of $80,000, that if they're away for a day, that's $300 that it's costing the employer, right? If they're away for 2 days, 600, 3 days, 900. If they have to take time off to take care of sick family members or children, that's also, a cost to the company as well. So, that is such a measurable item, and not just that, but even if you're in the office and you're sick and they're not paying you to be somewhere else at home on the couch, you're dragging, maybe you're making other people sick, and then they're going to be home. And there's that piece. There's the sort of after effect, but there's also the preventative effect, which is much harder to measure. But if you've got people that are healthy and performing well and not, like you said, just getting a sniffle here and there, they're in the office all the time and they're not taking sick days. So, and what else are you preventing? You don't know. It could be a long-term disability. It could be some other type of leave, or maybe they just get frustrated and they're sick and they leave the company, and that's great talent walking out the door. So, yeah, there's all sorts of measurables in there that I think are hugely important to an employer.
Yeah, and for, insurance companies and regarding insurance premiums, like if you could lower those insurance premiums, that would be incredible because that saves, especially a company like Anthem, like that has 400 plus employees, like I can't even imagine like what, the extended medical program is for a company like that. So we're talking about tens of thousands of dollars a year in savings just by, giving a committee, a few hours here and there to be able to put together a program like this. I mean, it's
Yeah,
hugely, hugely beneficial, which is amazing.
yeah.
On
I'm going to make sure we measure it next year.
Yeah, well, it would
Yeah.
be so incredible to see, especially for the employees that have been there for a while, where their sick days have been tracked, who've never participated in the program, and then now they start
Hmm.
participating. It would just be really interesting to see what the following years do look like. And, if there's a 10% drop, I mean, it's huge. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. Cindy, you have been such a pleasure having you on the show. Before we leave, what are, I'd say, 3 tips that you can give to other organizations who might want to implement something like this? Like, what would be 3 tips that you would suggest that they need to consider to make their health and wellness program successful?
Definitely. I think making it accessible to all levels is really, really important because a wellness challenge can be extremely intimidating to somebody who's never dipped their toe in fitness or never thought about what they're putting into their body or how to measure that or track that. It can be really, really intimidating, and giving them bite-sized pieces that they can accomplish and measure and celebrate, I think is really, really important. Uh, Definitely having that supportive component. So whether it's teams or whether you've got wellness champions that are going to reach out and support people through their journey, because it's so easy for people to get in and just not know how to motivate themselves and drop off. I mean, you're always going to have in a challenge like that. If we get more than 50% retention from start to end, I'm always really pleased because that's just the way it is. People sort of get all gung ho and they're excited and they sign up, and life takes over, or it's just not what they thought it was, or what have you. So definitely having that support throughout is really important. And also just, I think the biggest part is making it about overall wellness. So not just fitness, not just weight loss, not just one thing. I think it's really giving people skills and tools to make lifestyle choices that they can carry with them beyond this, because that's really what it's for. It's not, yeah, the competition's great and it's fun and people win and, they've got celebrations throughout the way, but it's what happens after that. After those 8 weeks, can they continue to make those choices? Have they learned anything new? Because if they're just going to go back to the way they were before, that's defeating the point. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, those are really, really good tips. And I think the piece too about the preventative side, I think is huge because, you know, we have definitely people are switching their careers often, now compared to what it was before, like 30, 40 years ago. And so people might have 10 or 12 or 15 jobs, but, as a global society, so whether that employee is still with you 20 years down the road and you're thinking about, preventing disease, or whether they go off and they're working for another organization. I mean, at the end of the day, we are living in a society where we all pay taxes into our healthcare system. We know that we have trillions of dollars going in, especially in the United States, millions of dollars going into chronic disease management. And it's decimating countries. Like I was teaching in China last year, and the reason they brought me over is because um, the reason is because they have over 150 million people with type 2 diabetes. And it's just diabetes alone is going to decimate the Chinese economy, because trying to take care of one person with diabetes is puts so much financial pressure on the entire country. And so, for employers who are like, well, we have high employee turnover, or, we're just a small company and, our employees only stay with us for 6 months or 6 years. I mean, or it doesn't matter, because that preventative piece is massive. So whether that employee, let's say, is going to be taking months and months off to treat cancer and other chronic diseases, or have to get amputations for their diabetes or whatever it is. I mean, ultimately, it's saving the country millions and millions of dollars, for to have every company like have a program like this. So I think that is huge as well, to just think beyond
Mhm.
yourself as an organization, or a department or an individual, which is huge.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, it's really exciting to hear that a country is taking that seriously, and a country is starting to take action on getting that type of knowledge out there. And I think it's such an interesting time in the world, because more and more in mainstream, people are starting to think differently about food. There's this whole plant-based concept out there that people that I would have never thought would have said those words are thinking about it, and thinking about the environmental impact, how it impacts their health, their longevity. More and more, we're so fortunate, certainly here, and the people in my life are so fortunate to be privileged, and we've got, access and abundance to everything. But your health is so vital, and if you don't have that, what else matters? And I think people are really starting to appreciate what that means. And, what you're doing is fantastic. And I think that the mainstream really has an ear to it now. So I really hope that they listen and people start making some great changes.
Yeah, I really hope so too. And, just by having this podcast and you sharing, tips and tricks for how other organizations can, start to think about a program like this, and then eventually design it and then launch it and then carry it on over the years. I mean, it's invaluable information. I mean, this is, it's not anything to be taken lightly. What you've done over the last 6 years, it really is something that you need to applaud yourself for. And, I really give, kudos to, I don't even know what the word kudos means, and if that is probably not the right word to use, but yeah, need to celebrate what Anthem has done as well, uh,
Mm-hmm.
in doing something like this, because again, it is for the greater good of all people, in all
Mm-hmm.
around us as well. And what you said about that um, exponential outreach that comes from that. I've seen the same thing with my clients. When I have a client who implements the Eat Real to Heal program, they come back and they're like, I taught it to my mom, and then my aunt was curious, and my grandmother reversed her osteoporosis at 72 years old. And like the stories, like they go on and tell 10 people, and they plant those seeds. And then when these people see the change that happens in that one person, then
Mm-hmm.
naturally they go and make the change as well. And that has been hugely rewarding as well. So even though you might have 25% of the company participate, which is huge, by the way, and
Mm-hmm.
well, and then you have a 50% retention rate. That's still great, because those people are going out and influencing and inspiring and motivating 10 other people. So it's massive. Yeah, it is massive. Wow.
Yeah, and it's awesome. And we have people who are new to it every year, and people who come back every year, and people who take a year off and still come back. So, it's exciting. And yeah, who knows? Who knows what the future holds?
Exactly. But it starts with these small steps, and yeah, these big steps actually. So this is amazing. Cindy, thank you so much for being on our Eat Real to Heal show. It's been really a pleasure having you. I've learned so much just about how to, develop a program. I'm going to be borrowing many of these, tried and true tricks that you've put into practice. And we're going to be doing that with our corporate wellness program as well. And yeah, I can't look forward to our paths crossing as well. So thanks so much for being on the show.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you so much. This was a lot of fun. So thank you.
Yeah, definitely. We'll be in touch soon. Welcome back. Hope you enjoyed that episode of the Eat Real to Heal podcast with Cindy. She is such a delight, and she truly is a wellness warrior in bringing this wellness program to her organization to help others heal, get more energy, and thrive. The last thing that I want to share with you today before we sign off is that we are going to be launching our Peak Performance plant-based program for corporations. So we're going to be working with companies with 50 more employees, where we come in and we take the employees through a 5-week program where we teach them how to use food as medicine, how to optimize their health, and optimize ultimately their ability to perform, not just in the workplace, but in their own life. And that's through our corporate Eat Real to Heal program that'll be coming out soon. So definitely get to our website, learn more, let us know if you want us to reach out to you or your HR department or the CEO of your company, and to share all the information about this program, because we are going to help millions of people around the globe reverse their lifestyle chronic degenerative diseases. And the only way to do that is by sharing all of this invaluable information that we've collected over the last 2 decades. And we have the science, we know the art of making these lifestyle changes, and we're going to share that with you and your company that you work for or that you own. As well, over the years, I've had the incredible opportunity of encouraging and inspiring thousands of people to turn their health around using food as regenerative medicine. So whether you're a business or a conference or a corporation, I'd love to see how we can work together for your next event. I have spoken in China, in the US, all over Canada, and I get hired to speak regularly. So if you want me to be at your next event, definitely email us, fill out the form on our website, and we'll decide and see if it's a good fit. And we'd love to be at that next event to inspire you to make the changes to turn your health around and the health of those people around you. So eat well, be well, and stay tuned for the next episode of the Eat Real to Heal podcast.